This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Hey, former Brother Evo! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Hoops Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Ryan McIntyre, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're going to chat it up with him about what we've all seen in the NCAA Tournament thus far. Did this before the late games in the NCAA Tournament, and we saw a lot of chalk late, so we were talking up some of these underdogs, and some of the underdogs, well, they did not unfortunately come through, but that said, we had a great chat with them. Looked forward to the games that we're seeing on Saturday, some of the upsets that he could see happening as well, and then in the final segment, gonna get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this college basketball Saturday as we hit some bank shots. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have 1 to 2 ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we had ourselves a fun day of college basketball on Saturday. Let's take a look back at it. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Lots and lots of chalk at the NCAA Tournament on Friday. Arizona, they absolutely take it to Long Island, 92-58 the final. Arizona only had to go 6 of 13 from 3. They went 22 of 33 at the free throw line, dominated the turnover battle 52-31. Turnover battle was relatively tight. They won that 11-10, but they have Braden Burries step up 18 points in this one, and he's been one of the most improved players in all of college basketball, in my opinion. Greg Gecko-Gordon, he had 12 points for Long Island, barely did enough to be able to get the over, but in this game, Arizona gets the job done. Texas Tech, they get the job done against Akron, 91-71 the final, and Akron was holding in there with about 10 or so minutes remaining. This was about 64-60, and then Texas Tech, they hit the burners, as Texas Tech does lose the turnover battle 10-9, but they win the rebound battle 32-25. And they went 11 out of 20 from three-point range. Jalen Petty, no feeling Petty for Akron, 24 points. He goes 5 of 7 from 3. Donovan Atwell, he goes for 15 points. Christian Anderson, off of injury, 4 steals, just 2 turnovers, 5 assists, 18 points. Nice performance out of them, and for Akron, Armani Lyles tried to keep them lively in this game with 26 points, but Akron loses a rebound battle 32-25, so that was rough for them. If you, like me, had Santa Clara and the under to begin the day, man, that is rough, as Ortega Owe hits like a 40-footer to send it to overtime. Kentucky wins and covers it overtime, 89-84 the final. Herb Sendek tries to call for a timeout, does not get it. For Santa Clara, they, in this game, win the turnover battle 11-7. They did lose a rebound battle 40-38, and they go 12 of 13 at the free throw line, 12 of 33 from 3, but did not get that timeout. Ortega Owe, He was the best player in this game by far, 35 points. He had 3 threes, including that big one that went to overtime. Elijah Mai, he was able to supply the team with 20 points. And for Santa Clara, first trip to the NCAA tournament in quite a while. A little bit of a salty one. Wright State was like the only underdog out of the first 12 games to be able to cover. 82-73 the final. Wright State held in there. 13 of 31 from three-point range. Michael Emma Barrage was able to give you 19 points and rebounds. For Wright State, they win the turnover battle 14-7. They do lose the rebound battle though, 39-24, as who had a balanced effort from Virginia with Jakari White coming in off the bench. He went 10 of 12 from the floor, 6 of 8 from 3, 26 big points in this one. So Virginia, they were able to stave off the upset after Wright State was up 43-38 at the half. That was really the most excitement that we got from an underdog, as Iowa State, they completely land-based. Tennessee State 108-74 the final. Now, they did have Joshua Jefferson go out after 3 minutes. That did not look great, to say the least. But for Iowa State, they do a nice job in the turnover battle, 16-11. The rebound battle, 43-29. They go 11 of 24 from 3, as off the bench, Nate Heisey was able to go off for 22 points. Killian Torrey, he goes for 25 points. Milan Mimaselovic, he goes for 17. And for Tennessee State, they go just 5 of 21 from three-point range in this one. The run for Miami of Ohio is unfortunately done, 78-56. Tennessee, they get the job done, as for Tennessee, they dominate the glass, winning that battle 42-25. Miami of Ohio went cold from 3, 7-29 from 3, just 12 out of 25 on their two-point shots as well. And for Tennessee, they had Jacoby Gillespie on their side, 29 points, 9 assists, 3 turnovers, and for Tennessee, they do lose the turnover battle 16-12, but the advantage on the glass, that was more than enough, as Peter Suter, lone guy for Miami of Ohio in double figures. He had 27 points. The rest of the team couldn't get a lot going. For Iowa, they got things rocking and rolling. They take down Clemson by a count of 67-61. Clemson does go 9-26 from 3, and you had R.J. Godfrey go for 15 points, but for Iowa, they do a nice job in terms of winning that rebound battle, 40-27. For Iowa, they knock down their free throws, 24 of 31 at the charity stripe. Clemson actually wins the turnover battle 8-3, but for Iowa, they did a nice job getting Bennett Sturts going for 16 points, and then Caleb Combs, he was able to go for 14 big points in this one as well. Northern Iowa just did not stand a chance in this one against St. John's, 79-53 the final, as Northern Iowa, they win the turnover battle 8-6, but got completely land-based on the glass, 45-29. Zuby Ejiofor, double-double, 14 points, 11 rebounds. Dylan Mitchell supplies the team with 9 rebounds. You had for Northern Iowa just a 3 of 14 expose from three-point range, and for Northern Iowa, 6 of 12 at the free throw line as well. So that was not great, to say the least. Utah State, they were solid down the stretch. They trailed at the half against Villanova, got down 10, but they rallied back 86-76 the final, despite going just 2 of 16 from 3. Villanova goes 14 of 30 from the outside, but they lost the battle down low, and Kevin Bullard wanted to fire his entire staff during the middle of the game. That was good, clean family fun right there, but Utah State, they win the rebound battle 37-27. The turnover battle was tied 9-9, but for Villanova, they went 6 of 13 at the free throw line. Utah State 28 out of 36 at the free throw line, with Mason Falsoff, MJ Collins combining for 42 big points. That was a massive difference maker there. Hofstra looked like they were going to give Alabama a game. They were down just 2 points at the half. This game was still relatively in the balance with 6 minutes and change remaining. Hofstra down 67-62, and then it just got ugly from there. As a matter of fact, it was a 5-point game with 4:49 remaining, and from there, Alabama goes on a big run to win 90-70. They outscored Hofstra by 15 points in the final, 4:45 in this one for Hofstra. 11 of 24 from three-point range. Preston Eman was able to supply the team with 24 points, but Hofstra loses the rebound battle 46-34. They lose the turnover battle 12-10, and LeBaron Feidlin, 29 big points in this one for Alabama. For Central Florida, they were able to get a cover. So you had 2 covers in your first 12 games out of the underdogs, 75-71. Central Florida loses but covers against UCLA, as UCLA had a really bad turnover late by Sky Clark that allowed Central Florida to get the cover in. For Central Florida, they go 5 of 16 at the free throw line. That's why they lose this game by 4 points. UCLA goes 13 out of 18 at the charity stripe. I mean, UCLA only goes 6 of 21 from 3, while Central Florida was 12 of 32 from the outside, but the free throw shooting was absolutely killer. For Central Florida, they also win the rebound battle 53-41, but they also lost the turnover battle 17-8 for UCLA. The Daily Show, Eric Daly, he was your top scorer at 20 points, and Central Florida was kept lively by Jordan Burks being able to supply 22 points, and Michael Stillwell threw in their 13 rebounds as well. For Purdue, it was more like Purdue for Queens NC, as they were unable to cover this one. 104-71 the final is. For Queens NC, they won the turnover battle 12-8, so that was great, but they lost the rebound battle 41-19. Drake Hoffman, Ryan and Oscar Clough by themselves had 20 rebounds. Purdue goes 14 out of 24 from three-point range. Braden Smith, 26 big points. In this one, Queens NC really did not show up with regards to their defense, and that was a nice, easy win and cover. And speaking of teams that did not show up, Prairie View was down at the half to Florida, 60-21. Game was actually 15-15 after the first 6 or so minutes. Florida, 45-6 run to end the first half. They win by the Mondo score of 114-55. For Florida, they win the rebound battle 54-20. Ruben Chinyelu, 14 points, 13 rebounds. Off the bench, Micah Hand logged in 10 points, 9 rebounds. Florida goes 10-22 from three-point range, and for Prairie View, they shot 27% from the floor. They did play even up with the turnover battle, 7-7, but that's about all that can be said for them. For Miami, they get the job done against Missouri, 80-66, the final in this one. 17-29 at the free throw line, so took a bad number on the Miami over. That was a little bit costly, but 11-24 from 3. Trey Donaldson, 17 big points in this one. Malik Renew, he continues to get the job done, 24 points. And for Missouri, 10-28 from 3. They go 16-18 at the free throw line, play even up with the turnover battle, 9-9, but they lose that rebound battle 46-30. And then in the Cal Baptist versus Kansas game, Cal Baptist gets down in this game big time, but they managed to get you the cover, 68-60, the final. As a matter of fact, at one point Cal Baptist was down 26 points. For Cal Baptist, just 4 of 17 from 3. Kansas just 4 of 19 from the outside. Darren Peterson, great name, 28 points. Took him 24 field goals to be able to get there. Bryson Tiller was able to throw in their 10 rebounds, but for Cal Baptist, they held their own on the glass, winning the rebound battle 42-41, 8-8 with the turnover battle. But for Cal Baptist, 10 of 19 at the free throw line, 12 of 14 for Kansas. And UConn, they got a little bit of scare, but they get the job done against Furman, 82-71 the final. They were without Silas Demery and a few others in this game, so very much banged up. But Terrace Reed, 31 points and 27 rebounds. He had 27 rebounds. Furman as a team had 23 rebounds. For Furman, 9-24 from 3, and for UConn, just 5 of 25. You don't have Alex Caravan go 5 of 9 from 3. That's the team 1 of 16 from distance. So UConn, they don't get the cover, but they do get the job done outright. And if you're looking at trend-wise, what we're getting in college basketball right now, last 7 days, underdogs, they have been still rock solid, 44-33 against the spread in the last 7 days, but clearly it was a favorite stay on Friday. And with regards to the unders, 40 unders, 37 overs, and I believe one push along the way over the last 7 days. Overall for the season, underdogs still hitting at right around 51%, 2,934, 2,762. Meanwhile, the under rate, 50.7%, 2,888 unders, 2,809 overs. So that's where we're seeing college basketball right now. That's where we're seeing trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we just chat it up with our good friend Ryan McIntyre of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network right here on Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Side edge this college basketball season? Well, VSiN experts use CBB Analytics, the most comprehensive college basketball analytics platform in the world. See injury impact, on and off data, clutch time performance metrics, first versus second half splits, and so much more. Utilize the promo code of VSiN, that is VSIN, to get $30 off and find your betting edge over at cbbanalytics.com. That is cbbanalytics, all one word, .com. For anyone that is new to VSiN, well, I wish you a friendly hello. This is an attention to anyone that is new to VSiN because you're able to get some free stuff with our daily newsletter. It's a great way to catch up on everything that's happening in the sports betting world. It's delivered straight to your inbox every single morning. VSiN's newsletter offers picks, data, strategies for the day's betting menu, and so much more. Sign up for free today over at VSiN.com/newsletter. That's VSIN.com/newsletter and start receiving your free newsletter tomorrow morning. That is VSIN.com/newsletter. Stay ahead of the game and bet smarter with VSiN. And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's great to be joined by this man as we've got Ryan McIntyre aboard. He does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, looking at this great game that we all know and love of college basketball. A man that I finally got to meet up with in person a few days ago, so it was tremendous. He's out here in lovely Las Vegas this week, taking in all the games. So if you're over there at Westgate Circa, you might be seeing the man wearing the West Virginia hat around, and he just does an amazing job looking at this great sport. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter /X at Moneyline_Max, spelled M-A-C, and he and Kobe Dan do amazing work with the college experience night in and night out. And Ryan, great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Greg, always appreciate it. And of course, it's great meeting up and having a couple cold ones. Watching the games, man. It's the best time of year.
Oh, it is the best time of year. And we're right now doing this as we're approaching the late games on Friday. So there might be an upset or two still to be had late. But what have you made out of the first round of the NCAA tournament? Because I don't think that it's quite as chalky as last year's event, but I think that it's sort of what I was thinking coming into the tournament, that it'd be somewhere between the San Diego State versus Florida Atlantic Final Four from a few years ago. I think we're long gone from that, but I also don't think that it's quite as chalky as we saw last year as well.
Absolutely, Greg. It's been a fun tournament so far. We've had a couple upsets, a couple big comebacks. The mid-majors have definitely had a stronger showing than they did last year. I mean, we saw High Point win out in that great game against your Badgers, unfortunately. We also saw VCU come back from 20 down against Carolina. Then we just got done seeing Utah State get in the win column. So good to see the Mountain West not strike out this year.
Yep, absolutely. Utah State looked very strong in that game, and out of all the one seeds thus far that we've seen, and we're doing this prior to Florida taking out High Point, and if High Point pulls off the upset, I will just eat my hat, as they were a 35.5-point underdog. That would actually be the biggest point spread upset in the history of college basketball. But out of all the one seeds, which one looks the most vulnerable right now? Because I think a lot of people will gravitate towards Duke, but with Michigan, they got a great draw, but I haven't necessarily loved what I've seen out of them the last few weeks. And the aforementioned Florida Gators, they're a team I think could be out in the Sweet 16 if they match up against Vanderbilt.
I tend to still say Duke because of the injuries, but you could also say that with Michigan. I agree with you. Michigan's super banged up. I think both teams are definitely vulnerable. The one team that I do not think is very vulnerable right now is Arizona. Yes. I think it is Arizona's tournament to lose. I know it's March Madness. Crazy things can happen, but if they make shots from the perimeter, they're going to be hard to beat, which is how they dominate you in the paint and then on the glass and defensively.
Yep, with Arizona, I think that they are looking like the most dominant team in the field right now. Absolutely took apart Long Island on Friday, so they are a team that I'm feeling very bullish on as well. And I do think that it is going to be interesting to see what we get in those Saturday games, because we are going to be seeing two of the one seeds hitting the floor. And for Duke, they're an 11.5 to a 12-point favorite against CCU. Michigan, more of a 12.5-point favorite against St. Louis. Can you make the case for one of, if not both of the underdogs in this matchup? Because I do feel like both of these teams should be favored. I don't think that the 8-9 teams are going to be able to knock off the one seeds. But at the same time, I look at what I saw out of St. Louis on Thursday, and I think that they're rounding back into form. And for TCU, they've already knocked off good teams this year.
Definitely on the side of TCU. I think I'm going to call for TCU to actually pick off Duke.
Hey.
I called that before the tournament, and I haven't seen anything that'll change my mind. You hit the nail on the head, Greg. They're old. They got length, size, and they've already played all the one seeds. They've already played Arizona. They've already played Michigan. We're competitive in both those games. They've beaten Florida, the other one seed, and then they beat an Iowa State, who's right there to be a one seed as well, and then they almost beat Houston. So ECU, Jamie Dixon, they're battle tested. And coming out of the Big 12, I think they have a shot to beat the Dukies on Saturday. It should be a fun game.
Yep, that will be a fun game, and I'm going to be very intrigued to see what we get there. And then this is one of the non-one seeds I really think can make a run this tournament. Right now I'm seeing Vanderbilt as a 1.5 to 2-point favorite against Nebraska, and I want to get your thoughts here because with Nebraska. They both take a lot of threes and they force their opponents to take threes. And I think that this is a really bad matchup for Nebraska with the way that Vanderbilt takes care of the ball. I feel like Duke Miles, that injury that they had towards the middle part of the season, was one of the more, shall we say, forgotten about headlines of college basketball. Him coming back for Vanderbilt is big, and I like Vanderbilt to win this game, and I like them to be able to make a run moving forward.
We see eye to eye again. I like Vanderbilt. I think that they are the more veteran team. I like their guards. I think Mark Byington's doing a great job. Nebraska finally got the monkey off their back, but I do like Vanderbilt here in this matchup on a quick turn. I think it's a bad matchup for those Nebraska guards. I think they're going to have trouble staying in front.
Yep, I'm right there with you. The quickness that you've got for Vanderbilt is right there. And thank goodness gracious, we finally got Nebraska an NCAA tournament win. I know that there were some that were calling for the upset. I thought they were going to take down Troy, and thank goodness gracious, we no longer have Nebraska with a 0 in the win column in the NCAA tournament, but I think it's now going to be stuck at 1, as Ryan McIntyre does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, joining me right here on Coast to Coast Hoops. And then what do we make of another banged-up team? Because we talked about the 1 seeds being banged up. Louisville's right there in that same boat, and I feel like Louisville was really lucky to get by South Florida. I know that they got up 23, but they shoot over 50% from 3. South Florida goes an ice cold 5 of 33 from the outside, and if you took 4.5 for South Florida, you actually still got the cover there. Now they take on Michigan State as a 4 to a 4.5 point underdog, and I just feel like with Louisville, they're a completely different team without Mikal Brown, and I feel like this is another not-so-great matchup for Louisville.
I think it's a horrible matchup for Louisville. I'm going to lay the points with Sparty. To your point, I think their physicality really is going to bother Louisville. And Louisville has been, I like to call it on our show, a good bully. But when they play a bully, they kind of just get manhandled, and especially on the interior. So I think Sparty is no quick turn. I'll lay the points there, just with their size and length.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And what do we make out of Gonzaga, who they barely got by Kennesaw State? That game was a slog. If you had the under, that was one of the no-sweat wins of the night on Thursday, along with the over in the Michigan versus Howard game. You never had to sweat that one either, but that's with Gonzaga, 5.5 to 6.5 point favorites, total of 147.5 against a Texas team that it's been wobbly for them this season. They clearly have some offense. The defense has not been great, but looks solid against BYU. And for Gonzaga, typically we talk about the offense. It's been a little bit down this year, but the defense has been surprisingly really good.
It has. I like the Zags to bounce back. Mark Few's been really good in the round of 32. Finally, their Sweet 16 streak ended last year, but that was because they lost to Houston. I think this is a good matchup. Texas also playing their third game in 5 days. I think the length and quickness of the Zags wear out Texas here. I'll lay the points.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And just looking forward at your bracket, have there been any real true surprises to you thus far? Or have things mostly played out to form? Because I'm sure that you, much like me, probably had a Sweet 16 team or two get knocked off. I'm looking at you, St. Mary's, who I need to go to Gales Anonymous because I keep trusting in them in the NCAA tournament and they keep letting me down. But have there been any real true surprises to you thus far?
I don't think that there's been any true surprises. I think St. Louis beating Georgia the way they did was a little surprising. I mean, they
got a 40 in that game.
Yeah, that was a boat race. Like, it didn't shock me that St. Louis beat them, but to boat race them like they did, that was surprising. It's been a strong showing for the A-10 early. VCU coming back and winning, then St. Louis getting the win. But it should have been a 3-bid league.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And for VCU, the fact that they wouldn't have made the NCAA tournament had they not won the Atlantic tournament, my rear end on that one. And how do you feel like this tournament has shown for the mid-majors? Because I know that Miami of Ohio lost to Tennessee, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, see, that's what happens when you face off against a quality team. I thought that that was just one of the worst matchups you could have possibly gotten for Miami of Ohio. I thought that they showed out well. Obviously, we've got high points still here in the NCAA tournament. Utah State with a big win. And I do think that this has been sort of a nice reinvigoration for the mid-majors, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it really has. It's been a good showing, and we needed this, Greg. The Power 2, unfortunately, the way that they've tried to change the sport has gotten out of control, and the narratives coming out of it last year, just with the all 4 1 seeds, everybody thinking that that's going to be the norm. We needed a strong showing because the mid-majors are still a part of what makes college basketball so great. Anybody can beat anybody, especially in this single elimination tournament.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And just going forward, is there anything that you're looking at for Saturday/Sunday that we haven't talked about? Or maybe there's a team that you're right now eyeing right now that not a lot of people are believing in that you think is going to make a deeper run than many people are expecting?
I'll probably be on a lot of chalk here in the round of 32. I think the cream usually rises to the top here, Greg. I'm going to be I'm going to be laying the point with a lot of these teams. I like Illinois as much as I love VCU and the comeback. I thought that took a lot out of them. Illinois kind of got to be in cruise control. I'll lay the points. and then I'll lay the points with Arkansas. I think those athletes, they're playing really good basketball right now, and I think High Point's going to struggle to be able to stop them at all.
I do think that we're going to get some interesting results here in the round of 32, and I do think that we're going to be seeing quite a bit of chalk. I don't know if I can lay some of these double-figure numbers, but I'm right there with you in terms of laying it with Gonzaga. I feel like St. Louis might be able to hold within that 12.5 myself, and we're both really seeing it with Michigan State as well. So we've got a lot of fun to be had, and Ryan, I know you're currently out here in lovely Las Vegas watching the games, much like myself. You do a great job with Kobe and Anton, the college experience. All you guys over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network having a good time this weekend. It's great to see. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
I appreciate it, Greg, always. Personal at Moneyline_Mac, and then check us out every night on the college experience. Great time of year, and hope to see you again soon, Greg.
Absolutely, as Ryan is doing such an amazing job over at the college experience. He's doing an amazing job looking at this great sport of college basketball. And every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So big thanks to Ryan for joining me on Coast to Coast Hoops, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this college basketball Saturday as we hit some bank shots.
This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Hoops Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always great to be joined by Ryan McIntyre, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, looking at this great game that we all know and love of college basketball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights and did so once again today. So a big thanks to Ryan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this college basketball Saturday as we hit some bank shots.
Most financial establishments close at a certain time, but not here. It is time for a side and total on every game on today's betting board bank shots.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at GNet_D1. I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea how they ordered these games. It goes with the games in Buffalo first, the games in Greenville, South Carolina after that, the games in Oklahoma City, and then Portland, and then you've got 2 NIT games. Those games are going to be at the bottom, so we're going to go in that order. If it gets convoluted, I list the order of the games in the description on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Twitter/X, wherever you're listening to this. So let's get things started. It is sub 73, sub 74. You've got Louisville playing against Michigan State. Michigan State between a 4 to a 4.5 point favorite. Total on this game between 150.5 to 151.5, and I did somehow line at 4.5, which is mostly what I'm seeing right now. If I absolutely had to play the 4.5, I would rather lay it with Michigan State rather than take it with Louisville, just because with Louisville, this is a team that's not the same team without Mikal Brown in the lineup. I know that they got the job done against South Florida, but they had to shoot 52% from 3, while South Florida was 5 of 33 from 3 and still didn't cover that game. You have Ryan Conwell is able to give you 18.5 points per game. He throws in there about 5 rebounds per game, and this is a Louisville team that's been a solid 3-point shooting team away from home. Michigan State is actually the better 3-point shooting team away from home, though, as Michigan State in a roadside-core venue, they shoot 40.1% from 3-point range. That is 7th in all of college basketball, so they have been rock solid there. Meanwhile, for this Louisville team, it's up, down, all around. Their top 10 team in terms of percentage of their field goal attempts that come from 3. They shoot 37.6% at home compared to 34.3% away from home. Now, the misnomer is that Louisville really doesn't play any defense. They're a top 50 defense in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. They're not bad on the glass, but at the same time, now you go up against a Michigan State team that is allowing teams to grab just 18.4% of their missed shots as an offensive rebound in games played away from home. It's numero uno in all of college basketball. Sandera Frew is like the lone guy that gives you over 5 5.2 rebounds per game with 9 points, 6 boards, and for Michigan State, they do have Jeremiah Fears out there who's been able to have no fears with giving out 9 assists per game. Recognize that he's not necessarily a guy that necessarily lights it up night in, night out, but still has been able to shoot about 33% from three-point and 90% of the free throw line. For Michigan State, their top 5 scorers, all but one of them shoot at least 78.7% of the free throw line in a pressure spot. Jackson Kaler is able to give you 12.5 points, 9 boards. He shoots 40% from 3, and Michigan State has been a little bit wobbly with the defense, but still a top 45 team in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. They do a nice job down low, top 25 team with regards to opponents' 2-point shooting percentage, and with Louisville just being a little bit more janky with not having out there Mikal Brown, I do think that Michigan State gets the job done. Like I said, at 4.5, I'd rather lay it than take it, but want to get a 4 here. Did set my total at a 150.5, so 151 plus is my buy point on the under. 775, 776, you've got St. Louis taking on Michigan. Michigan out there in New York is a 12.5 point favorite. 161 to 162.5 is the total, and I did set a total of 161, so 162 plus. I am going to be in on the under, even though you've got two teams that play fast. St. Louis 48th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. Michigan 49th, so these two teams play at the exact same tempo. And for the St. Louis team, one of the most balanced teams in all of college basketball. Top 20 team in terms of both points scored and points allowed on a per possession basis. The main kryptonite for this team has been turnover. It says in terms of turnovers on a per possession basis, this is a St. Louis team that is right around about 231st in the country, but Michigan 266th in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. This despite the fact that they are a really good defense overall. 8th in the country in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. Very strong down low. Top 15 team with regards to both their own 2-point shooting percentage on offense and opponent's 2-point shooting percentage on defense. And for St. Louis, you do have a team that is second in the country in 3-point shooting percentage at 40.2%. And a lot of people look at things and they think of Josh Schertz and Robbie Avila. It's a whole is greater than the sum of its parts approach, as right now you've got 8 different guys that give you at least 7 points per game. Brady Dunlap shoots 44% from 3 with 7 points per contest. Trey Green shoots 45% for 3 with 11 points per contest. Robbie Avila is obviously your main man. 13 points, 4.5 boards, 4 assists. He shoots 42% from 3, but someone like an Ishan Sharma has been able to shoot 42.5% for 3, throws in their 9 points per game. So I like the way that this team is built. It is a St. Louis team that is also a top 55 team with regards to rebound percentage. Now, I don't think that they win that battle down low. You've got a Michigan team that has a 3-headed monster down low that is absolutely insane, as Ade Mera, Yaxel Lendeborg, and Boris Johnson. They are currently combining for about 21.2 rebounds per game, and between the three of them, you're getting 5 blocks per contest. Johnson is your best outside shooter at about 40% from the outside, but Lendeborg also shoots 35.5% from 3. Elliot Cadu has been a little bit hit or miss with his 3-point shooting, but he and Trey McKinney combined to shoot about 37% from 3 and 19.5 points per game. The LJ Kaysen injury has hurt them, but they've been getting a little bit more out of Will Shedder recently. He's sort of a guy that comes off the bench. He's able to be a hot rod 3-point shooter, and for Michigan, I do think that they're going to be able to get the job done here and win from within, but I do think that St. Louis holds in there because Michigan is not going to be able to take advantage of those turnover opportunities. Do like the under, semi-total 161 and semi-line at 11, so we'll take those points with St. Louis. Now we go 777, 778. This is out there from South Carolina. TCU and Duke to battle. Duke is a 11.5 to a 12-point favorite. Total is 139 to 139.5. Semi-line at 11.5. So 12 is my buy point on TCU. We talked about Ryan McIntyre. It is a TCU team that's wobbly. They're outside the top 125 in terms of points scored on a per possession basis. Not necessarily the best shooting team, but they've knocked off Florida already. They played against Arizona. They played some very tough teams, and you've got Punch. David Punch, your top scorer, 14 points, 7 boards, 2 blocks per contest. You've had Xavier Edmonds shoot 42% from 3, 12.5 points, 6.5 rebounds per game. Now for Duke, this is a squad that has been able to do a really good job with their defense. Number 2 in the country in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis, and they look to slow things down. They're outside the top 275 in terms of total possessions per game. Obviously, the injuries are catching up with them. Patrick Ngangba, he's been dealing with injuries. 6'11" big man that has been the number 2 rebounder for this team, and then Caleb Foster being out hurts them. So they're looking a little bit more to Dame Sarr, who's been giving you about 6 points per contest. 6'8", little bit of a joker player. Isaiah Evans has been a big part of this team with about 15 points, shoots 36% per 3. Cameron Boozer's the best player out there on the floor. He's going to probably win the Wooden Award. 22.5 points, 10 boards, 4 assists, shoots 40% per 3. He just does a little bit of everything, and his brother Caden has been able to step up in the interim, give you a little bit of facilitation. Duke does a lot of little things well, and this has been a very rock-solid defense, but you can tell that the offense is lacking a little bit. They're a slightly above country average team with their 3-point shooting percentage at 34.6%. It's not awful, but at the same time, it's not amazing. But this is also a Duke team that is a top 125 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. TCU, their bread is buttered on defense by being a top 45 team in terms of generating turnovers. Do think that you get a little bit of a slog of a game, a defense-oriented game, and I think that Duke gets by, but do think that the number is getting a little bit lofty. I'm willing to take 12 plus here with VCU, and I do like the under semi total 137.5, 779, 780. It's Illinois, and they're going to be taking on VCU. VCU is a underdog of 10.5 to 11.5 points, 151.5 to 152.5 is the total. I do like the VCU Rams here. I set them as a 10-point dog, and with regards to total, I set mine at a 152, so I'm in between 151.5 to 152.5, mostly seeing 151.5, and I would rather take the over rather than the under because with Illinois, this team does rank number 1 in the country in terms of points scored on a per possession basis. We saw them against Penn put up 100 points, and I don't think that they're going to put up 100 points here, but still very efficient offense, and out of 365 Division I teams, 365th in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis, so VCU's not going to be underdressed, and VCU's a good three-point shooting team, 36.9%, that is 30th in all of college basketball. Have an Illinois team that in games played away from them, they shoot 34.6% from the outside. That's a top 125 mark in the country, and they take darn near 50% of their field goal attempts from three-point range. Illinois is very solid in terms of giving themselves second and third chances, with the Avicic brothers combining for 10.5 rebounds per game. David Mirkovic has been able to give you about 8 boards, 14 points per game, and then Keaton Wagler, he has been incredible, 40% three-point shooter, 18 points, 4.5 assists per game, and Illinois, while they don't generate turnovers, they certainly do take care of the ball, top 10 team in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis. But on the flip side, I do think that VCU is going to be able to hold in there. It's a little bit more of a whole is greater than the sum of its parts team, as their top scorer has been mostly coming off the bench. Terrence Hill, he's been able to supply the team with 15 points, 3 assists, shoots 37% from 3. Brandon Jennings, no relation to the former Milwaukee Buck, shoots 44% from 3. He and Nick Lewis both give you between 8.5 to 9 points per game. I mean, you just look up and down the boulevard for this VCU team. Each of your top 4 scorers shoot anywhere between 35.9 and 37.1% from 3. You've got a VCU team that has been able to do a solid job in terms of giving themselves some second and third chances. They're a top 125 team with regards to overall rebound percentage. They're a team that has been able to travel relatively well with their defense as well, about 43rd in the country in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis in a road/score venue. And though you don't necessarily have that one super imposing guy as Lazar Djokovic is right now your top rebounder with about 5.4 boards and 6'10". He gives you 13.5 points, shoots 36% from 3. I do think that this team is going to hold in there, and that Michael Beal has been able to shoot 51% from 3 and gives you 5 rebounds per game. So I do like a 151.5 or less to the over, and I'm willing to take the points with VCU. Made them an underdog of 10 points. 781, 782. Vanderbilt and Nebraska are doing battle, and this is going to be from Oklahoma City. Nebraska is a 1.5 to 2 point dog. Total on this game 146.5 to 147.5, and I made Vanderbilt the 5-point favorite. I'm going to be willing to lay the number. This is a Nebraska team that they love to take their threes. They're a top 15 team in terms of percentage of their field goal attempts that come from three-point range. And Nebraska's a solid three-point shooting team at 35.3%. That's 102nd in the nation. Doesn't really fall off away from home. And overall, it's a Nebraska team that has been a top 35 team in terms of points scored on a per possession basis away from home. Vanderbilt, though, they shoot 36.5% from three-point range away from home. Now, Nebraska has been a top 10 team with regards to opponents' three-point shooting percentage. They do a nice job locking you down there, and they force opponents to take over 49% of their field goal attempts from 3. That is a top 10 mark in the country, but Vanderbilt does a great job taking care of the ball, 13th in the country in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis, top 11 team in terms of points per possession away from home, and for Vanderbilt, I believe that they're a little bit of a better defensive team than what they've shown this year because they were without the Duke throughout much of SEC play. Duke Miles was missing for 8 games, and he is such a catalyst for this team. He's their number 2 scorer, 16.5 points, 4.5 assists, 2.7 steals per game, which leads the team as well, so they're even better on the defensive side of things now that he's out there. Typically for Vanderbilt, they're not necessarily the strongest team on the glass, but Nebraska is well outside the top 225 in terms of percentage of their missed shots that result in an offensive rebound, so having Devin McLaughlin, Jalen Washington combining for 18.5 points, right around about 12 plus boards per contest, that gives Vanderbilt a little bit of an edge there, and for Vanderbilt, they've been good on the inside, top 40 team with their own 2-point shooting percentage, top 65 team with regards to opponents' 2-point shooting percentage. Now on the flip side, Rink Mass has been very good for this Nebraska team, 13.5 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, and shoots about 32% from 3. Is about a 6'9", 6'10", a little bit of a joker player in Nebraska. Even though they take as many threes as they do, they are a team that when they need to go down low, they're a top 35 team with their 2-point shooting percentage. Again, just not giving themselves second and third chances. Nebraska is based a little bit more around being able to generate turnovers, as they've been a top 75 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. Not going to be able to have a lot of that. I think that Vanderbilt does a nice job in terms of taking care of the ball. Vanderbilt is going to be looking to crank up the tempo in this game as well. You're going to get a tempo war as Vanderbilt Vanderbilt, 56th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. Nebraska, they're hovering more around 262nd. I think Nebraska is going to be sped up a little bit more in this game. That plays right into the hands of Vanderbilt. So my line at 5, willing to lay with Vanderbilt, and I do like the over, so my total at a 151, 783, 784. Texas A&M and Houston do battle from Oklahoma City. You've got Houston as a favorite of 10.5 to 11 points, 142 to 142.5 is the total. I actually like the over here at a 143.5. Gonna have a massive tempo war in this game. Houston, in terms of total possessions per game, 328th in all of college basketball. Texas A&M, meanwhile, they are looking to gun it. They are 11th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. And for Texas A&M, the perimeter defense away from home has been superb. Teams are shooting 28.8% from three-point range against them in a roadside-score venue that is 6th in the country. And for Texas A&M, it is once again one of these teams as a whole is greater than some of its parts approach. You've got a lot of guys that see minutes for this team, as you pretty much have at this point a 9-man rotation of guys that all see 13 plus minutes. Pretty much all but one of these guys give you at least 5.5 points per game. Rashawn Agee is your main man down low, 15 points, 9 rebounds. And while this is an A&M team that's going to be a little bit outgunned down low, Houston's allowing more second and third chances than they have in the past. 131st in terms of defensive rebound percentage, over 27.2% of opponents' missed shots result in an offensive rebound. Have an A&M team that has a pair of guys in Ruben Dominguez, Rylan Griffin, that combine for about 21.5 points per game. Both shoot 40+% from three. Zach Clements at 6'10" is giving you great versatility. 7 points per game, shoots 40% from three-point range. Ali Abdu-Diba has not really come along for the ride, but he's still giving you a little bit of something as well. It's an A&M team that overall has been a top 75 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis, and Houston typically does a great job in terms of winning the turnover battle. 14th in the country in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis on defense. On offense, they're a top 5 team in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis. A&M takes good care of the ball as well. 53rd in the country in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis on offense. Now, for this Houston team, you've got a pair of guys in Kingston Fleming and Emmanuel Sharp, who they are living up to their name. They're very, very sharp, and combined 31.7 points per game. Between the two of them, they shoot about 38.5% from three. Both shoot above 84% of the free throw line. And in a pressure spot, this is a Houston team that they shoot 77.1% at the charity stripe. That is the top 30 mark in all of college basketball. This is an A&M team that will put you on the free throw line. A top 100 team in terms of free throw attempts allowed to their opponents on a per game basis. You've got Milo Suzanne, who's been able to shoot about 34.5% from three overall for the season, but in Big 12 play, that went up to 40+%, 11 points, 4 assists per contest. Joseph Tugler is able to give you a block and a half per contest, 5 boards. Chris Senek, about 8 rebounds per game. But outside of Tugler along Senek, they're pretty much the lone two guys on the roster that give you 4+ rebounds per game. So I don't think that A&M is going to be completely outgunned there. I think that things are going to be efficient enough for the over. So like the over, and with the way that A&M guards the 3-point line, I think that they hold in there, willing to take double figures here with A&M to go along with the over. 785, 786 on the card. It is High Point, and they're going to be playing against Arkansas. This is out there in Portland, Oregon. High Point, they hope to not be a low point as an 11.5 point underdog. 168.5 to 169.5 is the total. I set my total at a 167.5, so 168 plus does become my buy point on the under, even though you've got two teams that, well, they are gunning it in terms of their tempo. For High Point, they are 57th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. This is an Arkansas team that is 16th, and High Point does a great job in terms of taking care of the ball. 5th in the country in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis on offense. They now go up against an Arkansas team that is committing the fewest turnovers per possession of any team in the country. Top 30 team in terms of points scored on a per possession basis. But High Point, they're 5th in the country in turnovers generated on a per possession basis on defense. I think that keeps them relatively lively in this game. And a big reason why I do like this total to the under is that you've got two relatively good 3-point shooting teams, but both teams actually do a surprisingly good job of guarding the 3-point line. High Point, their line teams shoot about 32.1% from 3-point range. That is 71st in all of college basketball. Meanwhile, you've got an Arkansas team that they get blowtorch down low. They're outside the top 260 in terms of opponents' 2-point shooting percentage, but 31.7% is what opponents shoot from 3-point range against them. That is 56th in the country, but High Point is solid down low. They're a top 40 team with their 2-point shooting percentage. Scary Terry Anderson, Hot Rod Martin, they've been able to combine for about 31.6 points per game. You've got a 45% 3-point shooter in Ona Kino, who's been able to give you 9.5 points, 6 rebounds per game. Scotty Washington was very limited in that first game. You want to check that out, but Chase Johnson, he finally made a 2-point shot, shooting 49% from 3. Made his first 2-pointer when they really needed him in that game against Wisconsin. So yay, verily there. And on the flip side, you've got an Arkansas team that there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They've got the best player out there on the floor, as right now Darius Acuff is must-see TV. 23 points, 6.5 assists, shoot 44% from three. Malik Thomas shoots 41.5% from the outside. Billy the Kid Richmond is able to give you about 11 points per game, and then Trevon Brazile is able to throw in there 13.5 points, 7.5 boards. You do get a block per contest out of Malik Ewing, and then you get Brazile giving you about 1.7 blocks per game. This is actually a relatively good shot blocking team with Arkansas, but they are going to give up second and third chances, and High Point has been a little bit better on the defensive glass, albeit they played against a little bit of better competition, but it's an Arkansas team that in terms of defensive rebound percentage, they're allowing teams to grab about 29.6% of their misses as an offensive rebound. That's about 235th in all of college basketball. High Point in games played away from home, about 29% of opponents' missed shots become an offensive rebound. I think that High Point is able to do just enough to hold in there and generate a few turnovers. I do like the under, so I told 167.5. We'll take 10 plus here with High Point. Made them a 9.5 point dog. This is the last NCAA tournament game before we hit the two NIT games, 787, 788. Gonzaga and Texas do battle, and Texas, they are back to being an underdog of 5.5 to 6.5 points. Total on this game, 147.5, and Texas made them a 7.5 point underdog. I'm willing to lay up to 7 with Gonzaga. Gonzaga is still playing at a relatively good pace, 93rd in the country in terms of total possessions per game. You got a Texas team that they are a team that's been very mid-tempo this year, about 176th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. Entering into the NCAA tournament, this Texas defense was terrible. 346th in the country in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis in a road/score venue, with teams shooting 40.5% from three-point range. That is a nice hearty 361st in all of college basketball. They've been a little bit better here in the NCAA tournament, and they can hold up down low. Mateus Volkatatis has been able to give you 15.5 points, 7 rebounds per game. Dallin Swain, who comes over with Sean Miller from Xavier, he's flourished, 17.5 points, 7.5 boards, 3.5 assists, shoots 34.5% from three, and for Texas, name of the game for them, getting to the free throw line. Top 10 team in terms of free throw attempts on a per possession basis. They also let you get to the free throw line. They're a top 40 team in terms of free throw attempts allowed on a per possession basis. Not too bad down low. Top 100 team in terms of opponents' 2-point shooting percentage. Your own 2-point shooting percentage is in the top 55 nationally. Meanwhile, for Gonzaga, I do think that Graham Ike goes into takeover mode. 19.5 points, 8 boards. He only shoots about 34.5% per three. And Gonzaga's right around 20th in the country with their 33.5% 3-point shooting, but they're a top 20 team with their own 2-point shooting percentage. Top 25 team in terms of both opponents' 2-point and 3-point shooting percentage, and Gonzaga takes care of the rock. They're a top 25 team in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis. Texas has fallen outside the top 100 with that regard. Gonzaga, a top 85 team in terms of fewest free throw attempts allowed on a per possession basis, and I do think that them being a top 20 team with regards to their overall rebound percentage, even with Braden Huff being out of the fold, you've had Jalen Worley be sort of that do-it-all guy. He's a whirling dervish, if you will, with about 7 points, 5 boards, pair of assists, stealing after contest. Mario Saint-Sapri shoots 42% from three. I think Gonzaga finds a way to be able to get the job done here, and with Texas being as bad as they are in defense, I think that you get an over. So my total 150.5, like the over, and with Gonzaga, willing to lay up to 7 with them. And now we get the two NIT games, 789, 790. UNC Wilmington is playing a true home game against Dayton. Dayton is a road favorite of 1.5 to 2.5 points. 138.5 to 139.5 is the total. Do like the over. I set my total at a 141, as you got Dayton team has been really good in terms of generating turnovers. They're a top 10 team in the country in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis, but if they don't generate a turnover, boy oh boy, do they leave themselves vulnerable from the outside. As Dayton, they're allowing teams to shoot 37.8% from three-point range in games played away from them. That's outside the top 315 in all of college basketball. UNC Wilmington, they're Mambo number 5 in terms of opponents' three-point shooting percentage. They allow teams to shoot just 29.5% from three-point range, and UNC Wilmington has had a massive advantage on the glass. In terms of percentage of their missed shots that resulted in an offensive rebound, that's 34.7%. That is 23rd in all of college basketball. Dayton is 288th. They generate a offensive rebound on fewer than 25% of their missed shots. Now, for the Dayton squad, you've been able to have a pair of guys in the backcourt really just come out and shine. Javon Bennett has been able to give you 3 assists, 16.5 points per contest, shoots 35% from three. Deshaun Montgomery, 33.5% three-point shooter, 13.5 points per game, and they dealt with an injury to Jordan Durcock towards the middle of the season. He missed 5 games. He has been rock solid as a little bit of a do-it-all gadget guy, 9 points, 4.5 boards, 2.5 assists, like what I'm seeing out of him, but on the flip side for UNC Wilmington, I think that the just sheer size is going to be able to win out, as you got Patrick Wessler, comes in for Virginia Tech as a true 7-footer, supplying the team with 13.5 points, 9 boards, just under a block per contest. Nolan Hodge shoots 39.5% from three, and Wilmington maybe isn't like a flamethrower from three-point range, but this is still a rock-solid three-point shooting team that I think is going to do a nice job in terms of taking advantage of a Dayton team that really doesn't guard the arc. Wilmington, they shoot 35.6% from three. That is 88th in all of college basketball. And it's a Wilmington team that's relatively slow and controlled. They're about 303rd in the country in terms of total possessions per game. This is a Dayton squad that's more around about 207th 11th, but I do think that this is going to be close enough for late game fouling. You also have Madison Durr, Christian May. They make it May Day with a combined 21 points per game. I think that Wilmington, with grabbing those second and third chances, getting good looks from three, and this team really protecting the ball. Wilmington is a top 75 team in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis. I think that they get the job done on the money line. So I like UNC Wilmington outright, semi-total 141, and I do like the over as well. And then we wrap things up with 791, 792. Liberty is on the road against Nevada. Nevada is a 7.5 point favorite. Total on this game, it is 147.5. Semi-total at a 148. I do like the over just barely because you have a Liberty team that is very slow and controlled, 342nd in terms of total possessions per game, but in their games involve a lot of three-point shooting. Liberty shoots 39.1% from three-point range. Mambo number 5 in all of college basketball. They are 359th in opponents' three-point shooting percentage at 38.1%, and Nevada's a good three-point shooting team. They shoot 36.1%, 52nd in the country, but they're at a disadvantage on the inside. Liberty is 6th with their two-point shooting percentage. Nevada's 312th. Now, one thing that Liberty does not do is grab second and third chances. There are 365 Division I college basketball teams. They are 365th with regards to offensive rebounds per game, but Brent Decker, he decks teams. He gives you 17 points, shoots 47% from three. Colin Porter, J.J. Harper, they combine to shoot about 37.5% from three-point. Between the two of them, you're getting 22 points per game. Caden Matheny is able to give you 13 points per game. Liberty also does a great job in terms of valuing the ball. Top 15 team in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis. And with regards to this Nevada defense, right now they're allowing teams to shoot from three-point range right in that neighbor about 34.3%. That's 202nd in the country. Does improve to 32% in games played at home, so that helps them out a little bit. And for this Nevada team, you are going to have the best overall rebounder in this game, as they've been able to get about 8 rebounds and 13 plus points per contest out of Elijah Price. Corey Camper, he's been that main scorer with about 17.5 points, shoots 41% from three-points, but I think that they're going to have a tough time matching up with Zach Cleveland. He doesn't give you any three-point shooting for Liberty, but at 6'7", he gives you 11.5 points, 7.5 boards, 6.8 assists, 1.3 steals, 1.3 blocks per contest. He's just a little bit of a do-it-all dynamo sort of guy. And then for this Nevada team as well, they're about country average with regards to opponents' two-point shooting percentage, so not doing a supreme job there. They don't allow a lot of second and third chances, but again, that doesn't do them a lot of good because Liberty, they're not generating any of those in general. Nevada's another team that ranks in the top 65 in terms of ball security, so this should be a very clean game, even though it's going to be a little bit slower. Nevada, they're also outside the top 225 in terms of total possessions per game, but I think that's sufficient enough for the over. I do think that with Liberty having an advantage with their two-point shooting percentage, I think that they hold in this game. Semi-line at 6, won't take the points with Liberty, and at a 147.5, I like the over. That'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of Coast to Coast Hoops, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. A big thanks to our good friend Ryan McIntyre of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Coast to Coast Hoops, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to be able to throw those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every game, every day, so I'll be back with you. Let's get them out. Thank you.